Hello, this is Patrick, one of the wild guys. This is my YouTube intro, and we're going to be doing some more canoeing, rafting of rivers and lakes, and even going out into the Pacific Ocean in Northwest Territories, Yukon, and British Columbia. Welcome back with the wild guys doing a canoe trip down the nation's lake chain. There's a lot more that you're going to be able to see. Also, too, some more history on the Almanica and what had taken place in the early days. We will now cover the second half of Nations Lake Chain. Jim and I are traveling together today.
Back. Hi, Motor.
Hey, how you doing, Pat?
Pretty good. We got a good day ahead of it.
You're the...
And there's the boys ahead. I don't know how come they're ahead, but anyways, probably because we're filming. Okay. Nice day. Those are the mountains I talked about before. Sawtooth Mountains, Arctic Pacific Divide. And we got the other group coming in for the first coffee break.
When people talk about the gold rush, I often think about the Yukon up into Alaska, also into the Caribou and Barkerville and areas like that. But I've never really thought about the Almanica, but I've got to change my thinking now. There was a lot of gold mining, and during the time of the gold rush there. The two gentlemen you see here is James May and Ezra Evans. This took place in 1864, and Ezra Evans became known as 12-Foot Davies. In May 1869, Vital LaForce went up to as far as Silver Creek, and later went to the area which is now known as Vital Creek, which had the Vital Mountains very close by, and found the gold that brought the gold rush to the Almanica. Later, miners and prospectors went up. They were going to Torrey's Bar where they were finding gold, and Vital Creek, and we'll talk about 12-Foot Davies later on. Many of the prospectors were coming out of the Caribou and out of Quesnel area. The increased numbers meant a need for mail delivery. R.J. Lamond started the Almanica Express. It took him about a month and a half to make a completed journey. He handled the Almanica mail for Wells Fargo and Bernard's Express. Gold was first discovered there in 1861, but the rush didn't begin until late in 1869 with the discovery at Vital Creek. We'll leave the history of the mining of the Almanica and cover maybe a little more of it later on. But right now we're going to go back to the wild guys' journey down the Nations Lake Chain. Certainly a great deal of fun, and the scenery is absolutely beautiful. And we're also seeing a number of animals on the trip as well. You will find many artifacts of the remnants of the miners and the loggers, the trappers, and those that come before us and cut out a lifestyle in the wilderness is something of great interest. But it is slowly going away as things have a tendency to go back to a natural form. We still have some elders, and certainly elders within the First Nations, that can get us a lot of information firsthand. But that is not going to be with us for much longer. With the cameras and the technology we have today, you can bring this all back with you, so in your older years, you can watch it and see what took place before you. Okay, back to the wild guys canoe trip. As you look at the expressions on the faces of the wild guys, you can tell there's no stress out here. We spend a lot of money looking at going to large urban centers to see what has happened there. And yet in our own backyard, we have so much beauty and so much for us to see.
Well, this is the third night. Got the fire going. We got food cooking. Mark's cooking for us tonight. And some guys are looking, watching. We got some rough water today. We got our shelter up, just in case it rains. Pretty good shelter, hey? And
for those that wonder where we are, we'll give you some maps. We left on Indata Lake this morning, and we went down the Nations River, and the Nations River was 6.5 kilometers long. We had a blast going down there, and we come into Chichentlo Lake, and that is 37 miles long. We're now going to be camping on Chichentlo, and we're going to have our dinner here at Chichentlo. One morning we woke up alongside Chichentlo Lake, and we got out of our tents to find out that a number of caribou come right down past our tent alongside of the lake. According to the BC Ministry of Environment, Lands and Parks Wildlife Branch, the woodland caribou have ranged throughout the mountains of British Columbia for approximately 10,000 years, arriving quickly behind the retreating ice of the last ice age. No industrial revolution then either. A lot of the science doesn't line up with the history.
There's our kitchen. Hi, Doug.
Hi, how you doing?
Pretty good. Did you wash your hands?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
We're going to spend a full day here today doing fishing. This will give us time to build our camp and make it pretty attractive and comfortable for the whole day. So we'll include our camp that we stayed in when we stayed a couple of days.
Here comes John. He's got something in his hand. It must be
Coming
food.
down to give you my dishes to wash.
My dishes, eh? It's dishwashing time, is it?
It's dishwashing time.
Oh, that's good. Well, this is looking out on the lake. Still can't find our rabbit right now. Kind of cute little fella, hey?
I've been bringing in the logs from the forest just to clean up a little bit.
And what's that in that black pot there, Ben?
That's a special brew of coffee. And you take the coffee and then you pour the slivet in it. And if it's no good, then you just add some more slivet. And it's okay then. And this is going to be tea on this side here, so...
I think it's...
You'll have to tell us a little bit about that feather at the back of your cap.
Oh. Well, that was...
And show it to us, too.
Oh, okay, just a second. Probably the best side of me anyway. That feather comes from a special osprey. See this, and it actually, now that I think of it, it wasn't an osprey, but it was one of those birds, you call them a tern birds, you know? And it was Mark's turn. When he come down and he let his load loose on Mark. And that was probably the highlight of the trip right there, you know?
The Arctic tern had a large migration route when they went from the Antarctica to the Arctic Circle. Then that would be about 30 kilometers. But if they went through the Netherlands, they could go up to 90,000 kilometers or 2.4 million kilometers in their lifetime because of their migration route. I'll include also a map of one of the Arctic tern's migration routes. It was a long one.
You're getting your trips mixed up.
You're right, that was on a different trip on the Yukon River when we had the Arctic terns nesting on an island and one of them pulled in with their canoe. Boy, did they get dumped on. It was Mark's and John's turn.
We're going to talk about Jerry. And
Absolutely.
How about our poor old buddy, our Glenn Tadson back home?
Yeah.
Glenn.
Yeah,
That's
we miss
what
that
gotta-
guy.
Yeah, we talk about you all the time, Glenn.
Glenn, we really need you. I often remember when we were in Turner Lake and you were fishing. Remember you were fishing and catching all them big fish, and I was such an artiste at the canoe thing. I could take them right over the fish and spin it on a dime, and you were getting them, and they were really big whoppers too. Anyways, Glenn, we aren't trying to cut you off. We do truly miss you. We've had lots of good food here and a lot of fun. We had some waves yesterday. Nobody's fell in the lake yet, but I'm sure it's going to come.
When we were on Nations Lake, it was the same time we had the infestation of pine beetles. In 2001, when we were there was 150,000 hectares affected by pine beetles in the Almanica. When on shore and walking through low brush, your pants would be all covered with pine beetles, as you can see them on this particular brush. In a report from the government of British Columbia, they said the spruce beetle is native to British Columbia and is regularly seen in forest areas, but higher than normal populations have been detected in British Columbia at that particular time, and they were concentrated in the Almanica region where we were at. You will hear the waves come in as it washes up the pine beetles in a windrow on the shore.
Now this is a windrow of them here, all washed up on the shore. These are all windrow of pine beetles.
The pine beetle had a devastating effect of the mature pine forest, not only in British Columbia, but in many parts throughout Canada and the United States. The pine beetle infestation is not all bad because it tends to affect the larger trees, giving space for new forests to come up and grow. Oops, that wasn't a pine beetle, but that was a chipmunk. Just like a rose bush, it can have slivers that can hurt you, but also a flower that looks and smells nice. Okay, I did some research on the pine beetle or bark beetle, whatever you want to call them, and they're one of the oldest engineers of the forest that there is, certainly taking out the big trees and leaving the younger ones to grow. They are actually said to be some 300 million years old. Okay, this is what the Washington Post said.com, and also the NBC News had some information on this. Plus numerous engineers out of Alberta and other parts of the world. Many scientists say there's still a lot to learn about the pine beetle. We're just guessing on some of it. Okay, I didn't show you 7,500 different species of these beetles, but showed you a few.
Here's some Orioles. And over here we got two sets of hands, and they're making bannock dough for us.
My wife is watching. Tell her I'm coming straight home.
The wife is, you say you're coming straight home?
Yeah, and to not to worry about the recipe not being used correctly.
Okay.
I was raised near Slave Lake, or Lesser Slave Lake. I went to school with the Cree, and a lot of my friends were Cree, and we ate a lot of bannock. But I gotta say, after John made this bannock with the raisins in it, that was some of the best bannock I ever ate. Now, I didn't tell John about it, but I guess he's gonna find out now. Just look at the heat from the fire radiate across and into that frying pan. The bannock is just turning golden brown.
And the other fellas up here, they're not going to be outdone. They're making us a parted seat, and you can sit on it. Actually, you can even swing on it.
Oops, not anymore. They got a pole on the other side of the tree. I think they got a degree in wood construction.
Looking good. One more shot of the lunch we're going to have Mark put together. Thanks, Mark. That's good lunch.
Don't think until you taste.
Okay, we'll do that too.
Well, who lived in these cabins that you see here? Well, I can't say for sure, but on the 7th of November 1985, the Transcontinental Railway was completed, which was a condition of BC's entry into Confederation. About 40% of the workers on the railway were Chinese. Many of them heard about the gold rush up in the Almanica and come up into the Almanica to search for gold. So it is possible that it could have been some of the Chinese that lived in these cabins, but we can't say for sure. It could have been First Nations, trappers, or other prospectors. In 2001, parts of the Almanica was designated a provincial park. We talked a lot about the mountain caribou in the Almanica, but these horns that we found here are not from the mountain caribou. We had a big bull moose come up the creek right beside us where we were camping. We got out and seen him, but we never got a picture of him. But they're moose horns. But that's all we had, and there's a lot of moose in this area as well. We had seen some, you'll see some on the video as well. This is an old moose that had died, part of his skull still there. One thing I've noticed that you can have settlements or buildings, but over time they go back to nature. You never know what's going to pop their head out of one of these places. Holy smolders! What was that? Often in the wilderness you'll find cabins that are not bad shape, but we've always found that there's always mice and different things in there. So for the most part, we tent outside. I can't help but think as I look at this outhouse that fell down, that the expression may have come from the person fell in the outhouse and come out smelling like a rose. Well, today some of us did some fishing while others tramped through the bush out around behind, to see any kind of activities or any kind of signs of those that came before us. One morning we woke up, and after we left in our tents and went out and looked around, we seen where there was a number of caribou that come right through our camp. Another morning we were woken up very early by a bunch of noise. With our bear spray at hand, we went out to take a look to see what it was. It was a bull moose that was coming up a stream right beside us. You won't find a better vacation. Sawtooth Mountains are the Pacific Arctic divide. And here we are on the Arctic side, where all the water that we have here will be flowing into the Arctic Ocean. We're in the height of the tourist season, and yet as we travel across British Columbia, Yukon, and Northwest Territories, very seldom do we see people out in the wilderness looking at all the things that we have before us. Yet we have some world-renowned parks and territories.
Well, we're picking up camp tomorrow, and we're going to be moving across the lake and down around the point. That long slope on your right hand side. We make a corner there and go down through the right. That's it for tonight. Well, this is the end of the 4th day, and the sun is going down, and the boys are a little bit depressed that the days slipped by on us, but we had an awful lot of fun this day.
In the midsummer, the days are very long, so even though that we have light, we've had a great long day and a great deal of things that we're able to see. So we'll look forward for tomorrow. A wee bit about the gold rush. I would like to talk more specifically about the Omanika gold rush. The gold was found in 1861, but it wasn't until 1869 that there was a real rush. At the discovery of the Vital Creek, things really changed. And Fort St. James and the area that we're in now were certainly an important part of that, where we had 2 routes from Fort St. James into the gold-rich area. One was by land and the other one was by water. A little bit more about the gold mining in the Omanika. In 1863, there was about 150 men came in to mine in the area. The story I liked was the one about 12-foot Davis. 12-foot Davis was named 12-foot simply because there was 2 rich claims that were 12 feet apart, and he staked his claim over that 12 feet and became rich. Mind you, most of the miners were unsuccessful. Billy got himself a nice fish. Too busy talking to tell you it's day 5, and we've just left Juchentko Lake, and was 37 kilometers long, and we've also did the Nations River, which was 5 kilometers long, into Chunchi Lake. Okay, we'll focus on Chunchi Lake.
You just knocked my hat off. Who could that be? Hey, that's Johnny. Hi, Johnny.
Hey, Pat.
Johnny in his kayak.
We haven't been in Chunchi Lake long, but there's so many things to look at and to see. We're already stopped and doing some inspecting in this particular area. Chunchi Lake is our last lake, and Chunchi Lake is 28 kilometers long, but we've got a lot of opportunities to enjoy Chunchi Lake and the things that took place there as well. Fort St. James has been home to the Dakota-speaking people since long before the arrival of Simon Fraser and the Hudson Bay Company. Middle River First Nations, the Takla Lake First Nations, made up 25% of the Carrier-Sakani Tribe Council. This area seemed to be an area that they did hunting in. Seen a cabin, and I also see a tree stand here that is just behind us. Looks like they're looking out into the meadow. Bob is looking up in the air.
I'm just going to swing around here and see what it is that Bob's caught sign of. This is a really nice golden sand beach. I think he sees something up this tree. We'll have to look here.
In the 1950s to 1960s, there was a guide outfitter, and his name was Craig Smith, and he operated along the Nations Lake chain. As you see, there's going to be a platform that will be just above my head. Maybe it could have been his. Not sure how old the platform was. I didn't take a chance on sitting on it. To be part of history and tracking the trails of the ones that were before us make our trip very special. More history. Terry from Kahuni Family Outfitters told me about the time that he talked to an Oscar Sweeter, who in turn talked to a Justin Sam. Terry knew Justin Sam. He was a native and also a teenager back in the 1950s. Justin Sam's father took him when he was 10 years old up to the Koali River where he met Chinese placer miners. Well, when we wait for that guy to get out of the tree, I'll tell you a little more about the mining in the Omanika, because they heard about Pete Troy on the Omanika River and his gold find, and they were led by an American by the name James Jermison. We drove in on a Jermison Landing Road. Well, I seen a nice moose meadow back there, no moose in it, but it looked good. My wife and I used to always go up trees and tree stands and watch the moose.
Patty, what did you see up there, buddy?
There's a swamp back there and a place where moose could come.
Yeah.
It's not the best spot because it's grown up a bit too.
Okay, I got these three cooks here. I don't know what's for dinner. One's named Mo, the other name, what's the other guy's name? Curly?
Curly, Larry, and Mo.
And Larry, yeah. Anyways, they're doing some cooking for us there. It looks okay so far. This is day number 5.
Well, it's time to eat again.
What are you eating there, Doug? Smoked oysters, oh. How'd you get them lit? Just like a little tent city we got set up here for tonight to sleep. There's another pointy mountain and some more mountains we're going into.
This is a historical park where Terry and his wife Marianne are helping doing the restoration of what took place before them. They also are part of a group of seniors helping seniors in Fort St. James. Terry and Marianne have a lot of history that can be portrayed to those that are coming behind them of great value. I hope you enjoy some of the pictures we have here of what took place in the past. Let's go shopping at the Hudson Bay Trading Company. Fort St. James was founded by the Northwest Company explorer and fur trader Simon Fraser in 1806. It came under the management of the Hudson Bay Company in 1821 with a forced merger of the two battling fur companies, also known historically as Stewart Lake Post. It is one of British Columbia's oldest permanent European settlements and has the administrative center of the Hudson Bay Company's New Caledonia Fur District. The fort, rebuilt 4 times, continued as an important trading post well into the 20th century. Now the fort is a National Historical Site of Canada, with some buildings dating to the 1880s. The trapping of animals used to be a big part of some of Canada's economy. While sleeping last night, unbeknown to us, there was a group of caribou come through right where I'm standing here along the beach, and we were just asleep and didn't know a thing. I was just showing John how to do a knife knot, and you use a knife to undo it. Well, I didn't have a degree in academia on history or things like that, but I certainly learnt a lot on this trail. The miners and the prospectors, the surveyors and the trappers and the railway workers contributed so much to develop Canada in those days.
Would that be any relation to the granny knot?
I think so, yeah. Some relation there. I'm not sure where.
So later on, Pat, I guess we'll all be able to sit around this campfire and reminisce of our old buddy Glenn, who couldn't make it this year.
That's right.
And sing a couple of songs like Kumbaya and
I think so.
yeah, few other drinking songs.
Yeah, and another day's gone by, so hopefully his leg is even better today.
I hope it is too. I think we're all hoping that.
Yeah, and we seen some really good fish today, and I was thinking of you, Glenn. You would have been in third heaven here.
Yeah, we actually caught some fish today.
I got to tie up this whole thing there.
And we got here we got Jerry. Yeah, here's your replacement, Glenn. He's been a good fella so far. He's done all right. You know it's going to be a hearty meal when you've got Bill as the main chef.
Culinary expert.
Yeah, the guy that's really with the spoon in his hand, and his partner is right there with him, just making sure that things are done the way they should be.
In the midsummer, you're going to have to stay up awful late to be able to see a sunset. This is not the greatest one, but take a picture of it anyway.
Bob is dragging in a log for our fire for the night. Good work, Bob.
What, Patty?
Well, it's day 7. It's in the morning. And we got Jim and Mark up there talking about old times. I guess they're the people to talk about old times, alright. Anyways, we'll move on and show you we got a beautiful day. There's the lake. I'll get the rest of the lake after. Still day 7, this is the rest of the lake. I went in and had a swim this morning.
I stand to be corrected. I said it was the 7th day, but it's not. It's the 6th day.
These old fellers are still talking.
No, we're not. We're solving some of the world's problems, Pat.
Is that right?
And this is just the perfect spot to do it in.
Oh, that's good.
Absolutely.
Day 6.
This is where we're at. Chunchie Lake Point or Sarah Lake Campsite.
We arrived here on day 5. We're here day 6. We're going to spend the day here. Sarah Point. Seems like a good spot. Billy's going out fishing.
Holy smolers, looks like dinner's getting away on us. I'll have to see what I can do with that.
Well, no, that's not all of it. That would be about half of it.
Half it. And the rest goes across the pan?
Yeah, you had to cut it in half to get it into.
Hey, what I'll do is back up a bit, Bill.
Yeah.
That'll make it even. No, I want to go bigger, don't I? I'm going to zoom in on that sucker.
Yeah, we had to cut it in half.
Holy, that is a big one.
There's the cut it in half.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, the pan isn't big enough.
Okay, that's good.
We'll be able to feed 7 guys with this.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
What about a 30-pounder?
Okay, we're stretching that a bit.
It's hard to tell, but I'd say between 25 and 30, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Good.
Bake up a few loaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very good discipline. So loads.
Okay, here's a little one we caught too. Now you see that purple onion all nestled in with that there lake trout. What kind of a trout is it?
It's a trout.
It's a trout.
We caught it in the lake.
Oh, it's a Nations Lake trout. That's right. Okay.
Okay, here's
Now,
Patty.
isn't that a monster? That's almost up to my chin, eh?
That's a big fish. I'll just pan down.
Took me
See?
about 2 hours to land him.
What'd you catch it on, Patty?
I caught him on a hook
Yeah.
in the water.
A bit silver on it?
Pardon?
Bit of silver on the
Yeah,
hook?
a bit silver, sharp.
And what kind of fish is that?
Pardon?
What kind of fish is that?
That's a char.
Char. Very nice. So we'll eat that tomorrow, eh?
We'll eat that tomorrow, yeah.
All right. Well, good work, Patty. Good work.
Well, another meeting going on. We just got finished looking at that big fish I caught. That was a big one, hey? Anyways, I think they're just talking about it now. Well, Glenn, you know that fish that we showed? We caught a lot of other fish, but we caught that fish for you. We saved that one for you. Anyways, I'm just taking a picture. It's our last day. We got about 15 kilometers to paddle, and our pickup is gonna get us. And this is just about it for the for our trip. But we got a ways to go yet, so there'll probably be some things happening. Johnny is busy there getting things tidied up for his takeoff, and we got everything just about cleaned up in camp here. Just come across the lake here this morning. It's a bit rough, but we're the wild guys, and we made her. There's John over there. He's fixing up his kayak. He hit some wild water. I guess it ripped some stuff off. Yeah, they're talking now. Directions. Where do we go? Do we go here? Do we go there? So watch your fingers there.
And the thing's on the other side. That river's farther down.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we got it all figured out. It's either this way or it's that way. And so we're going to go one of those ways.
We've just come to the end of our canoe trip and our pickup point, and we'll see you at our next trip, and that's going to be the Nikita Kid Price Lake. Now is the time for those who want to get up into see the rest of Canada in the north, seeing the rivers and the lakes and all the history that developed Canada. Some of the things that we've seen has already been taken away from us by a forest fire. It'll never be back. Don't let your day dawn on you. Make sure you get out in the back 40 and see what you're living with. Ralph Edwards had a homestead at Lonesome Lake. On the year 2000, we went to Nimple Lake and we seen Lonesome Lake there, where Ralph Edwards looked after the swans and stocked the lakes with trout and looked after the area very well. It's a good thing that we went there because this historical site has been pretty well wiped out by fire now. We seen part of it when we canoed Nimple Lake chain. That's now gone with a forest fire, and things are gradually being taken over by nature. Don't expect the artifacts that you'll have out in nature will always be there waiting for you, because nature has a way of bringing it back to what it was in the beginning. So make sure you get out in the wilderness and see what's there. And we're going to be going to Nikita Kid Price in 2005. Come along with us.